Hi, everyone. My name's Brenna Posey. I am a NOCD employee, and I also have OCD myself. I've gone through NOCD therapy, and now I love to talk about it and give other people hope that are struggling with maybe the same thing that I struggled with. And if you want to see the latest episodes about OCD and all the things OCD, actually, make sure that you hit subscribe to this channel so you can get the latest episodes from me, Dr. Patrick McGrath, our Chief Clinical Officer, and so many more people from the NOCD team. Now, just like a lot of you guys, I really love White Lotus. I stay up really late and binge watch it because why not? And season 3 is out. I'm in the middle of season 3. I love it. And I stayed up way too late last night watching White Lotus, and now I'm feeling the pain of it today because I decided to stay up too late. And now bear with me, but you'll see how this White Lotus scenario can be applied actually to OCD. Now, to understand this, we have to understand OCD. So, OCD contains obsessions and compulsions. Your obsessions can be about anything, right? The content can change, but it still drives that underlying anxiety, right? So, a lot of times, whenever people have these obsessions, they can be really scary. And so, OCD makes us believe that we need to get rid of those obsessions by performing compulsions. So, compulsions are anything mental or physical. I'm going to give an example of an OCD cycle here in a second, but compulsions can be, again, mental or physical. It can be giving yourself reassurance, it can be checking, it can be asking other people for reassurance, it can be ruminating on the thought, it can be trying to figure out the thought. Anything like that can be considered compulsions. And OCD really tricks us into thinking that compulsions are going to save us and save us from this anxiety that we're feeling. So, unfortunately, if you have OCD, you know that compulsions are what drives the OCD cycle and actually is what makes us worse. So, for example, if I had relationship OCD, a thought could pop in my head and say, well, what if you're actually with the wrong person? What if this person isn't the one? And that thought can drive a lot of anxiety for people. And OCD can make us believe by performing a mental compulsion or physical compulsion by asking reassurance, asking your friend, hey, do you think this person is the one for me? Or, doing anything like that to make sure you get an answer to that obsession. That is a compulsion. And unfortunately, setting you up for failure. Just like White Lotus, watching White Lotus and staying up too late was setting me up for failure the next day, right? So, a lot of times people don't understand the logic behind OCD, so they don't know that performing compulsion is what drives the OCD cycle. Now, because you're performing a compulsion, you're sending a signal to your brain saying, oh man, I just did a reaction. I just gave a reaction to my obsession. That means I should actually be concerned about this thought. Something is wrong. And now, anytime I have the thought again, I'm going to have to do that compulsion again to make sure that it goes away. I've been through this cycle before. I know how exhausting it can feel, and I know how OCD just feels real, which sometimes OCD being and feeling real is what drives us to want to perform compulsions because the risk is too high for us to not do the compulsion, right? So, this begs the question, if what we're doing now and doing compulsions is actually what makes the OCD cycle stay longer and just grow over time, what if we just did the opposite? So, just like I could have not watched White Lotus, what if I just didn't perform compulsions and we did the opposite? I think a lot of times I go back to the short term pain, long term gain phrase because this really explains OCD too. You know, if we stop performing compulsions or resisting the compulsions, it feels really crappy. And just like in another, not a serious way, not watching White Lotus and not staying up watching White Lotus, it may suck and I may feel sad and be like, man, I want to stay in the know. It feels good whenever I'm watching it. It kind of sucks that I'm not and I'm just going to bed. This is kind of the same thing, because the short term pain, long term gain means that the next day, since I didn't watch White Lotus and stay up super late, I'm energized. I have a full day ahead of me and I feel my best self. Now, when we apply this to OCD, it may suck at first not performing compulsions because one, we've been used to performing compulsions, right? You're probably been stuck in this cycle for a little bit and you're used to just performing compulsions thinking that your anxiety and this horrible feeling with your OCD will go away. But really, if we just did the opposite and stopped performing compulsions, since we know that's what drives OCD cycle, our brain over time can learn that, these obsessions, yes, I don't like them, but I'm not going to try to figure it out why I'm having it, or I'm not going to try to give myself reassurance or ask for reassurance. I'm not going to try that. I'm going to sit with this feeling and continue on with my day. And our brain actually becomes accustomed to that over time. And actually, what I've been explaining right now is what ERP, or exposure response prevention therapy, teaches us. And this is what all of our NOCD therapists are specialized in and can help. I've actually gone through ERP therapy myself and it's really changed my life in the way that I view my obsessions and anxiety. I used to run from them. I hated, who likes the feeling of anxiety? No one. But I used to want to push it away. I used to want to push all of my obsessions, my thoughts, everything away. And therapy taught me that no, let's do the opposite here. Let's sit with the anxiety. Let's feel kind of crappy for a second in the short term. Let's feel all of these thoughts, let them flow in my brain, and not do anything about it. And guess what? Over time, that is what gives us the freedom and us the power instead of OCD. Now, I know staying up late to watch White Lotus is super tempting. It's very tempting for me. Sometimes, just like I actually stayed up late watching White Lotus, sometimes you just do perform compulsions. And I want to take a moment and say that it's okay and to give yourself grace for doing that, because I know how real OCD can be. But I think it's important to recognize that you did perform a compulsion and tell yourself, I performed a compulsion. Going forward, let's try to not do this because this is what is making my OCD worse. So I know it's kind of crazy to relate White Lotus to OCD, but, a lot of times you can apply the same logic here. It's the short-term pain, long-term gain. And, where do you want to see yourself in the long term? And for me, I kept on asking myself that if I don't want to feel like this, I don't want to be stuck in this cycle. So let's do the opposite. Let's not perform the compulsions. Let's not stay up late to watch White Lotus and feel that short-term pain to get the long-term gain. And if you're interested in taking the first step to potentially trying ERP, or exposure response prevention therapy, give our team a call. Book a call with our team. It's a free call, and they'd love to chat with you, get to know you, and potentially match you with a therapist to potentially get you started with therapy. It changed my life, and I have no doubt that it has the potential to change your life too. Thanks so much for watching.